Alrighty. I don't know. Alright. These We the People News. Educational purpose only. People, think outside the box. Let's proceed forward.
Included in the U.S. Constitution bans on bills of attainder. Also means they have no authority to do anything judicial and are fraudulently and deceptively presenting themselves as a court of law. Ministerial officers are incompetent to receive grants of judicial power from the legislature. Their acts in attempting to exercise such powers are necessarily nullities. Their legislative inferior court might be a superior court of general jurisdiction under certain circumstances. The court of general jurisdiction is presumed to be acting within its jurisdiction until the contrary is shown. But when a superior court of general jurisdiction undertakes anything that's in derogation of common law, it becomes quad hoc an inferior court of limited jurisdiction. To be the statutes which would deprive the citizen of the rights of person or property without a regular trial according to the course of usage of common law would not be the law of the land. And their maritime codes have absolutely nothing to do with common law. When therefore a court of general jurisdiction proceeds under a special statute, it becomes a court of limited jurisdiction for the purpose of such proceeding. And that's Book 21 of Corpus Juris Secundum, Courts, Section 2. Accordingly, where a court of general jurisdiction undertakes to carry out a special power, a decision made and exercise of such power is treating as a ruling of a court of limited jurisdiction, and the presumption applicable to a court of general jurisdiction that it acted within the scope of its jurisdiction does not apply.
So, even allegedly, okay, the Supreme Court's talk about the rulings of gun rights and all that kind of stuff, right? But if they're going by statutes, right, instead of constitutionality, they're not Article 3 judicial branch. They are administrative and inferior, okay? So they can go all the way up to the Supreme Court on the statutes.
It is familiar law that when special statutory authority and derogation of common law is conferred on courts of general jurisdiction, such a court of general jurisdiction becomes quad hoc a court of inferior or limited jurisdiction. Therefore, it is actually an administrative hearing for their maritime code. Ministerial act is an act that a public officer is required to perform in a prescribed manner in obedience to the mandate of legal authority without regard to his own judgment or opinion concerning such acts, propriety or impropriety, when a statute given state of facts exists. Discretion, on the other hand, is the power conferred on public functionaries to act officially according to dictates of their own judgment.
In other words, according to this, right, and I'm arm length, right, since they're under administrative, they're still supposed to ignore the oath of office. And this is the reason why you hear all these officers ignore their oath of office, because they're in administrative, not a constitutional. Still, with that oath of office, they are breaking the contract with us.
When acting to enforce a statute and a subsequent amendments to the present date, the judge of municipal court is acting as an administrative officer and not in a judicial capacity. Courts administrating and enforcing statutes do not act judicially, but merely ministerially, but merely act as an extension, as an agent for the involved agency, but only in a ministerial and not a discretionary capacity. It's the accepted rule, not only in the state courts, but of the federal courts as well, that when a judge is enforcing administrative law, they're described as mere extensions of the administrative agency for superior reviewing purposes as a ministerial court for the agency. Judges who become involved in enforcement of mere statutes, civil or criminal in nature and otherwise, act as mere clerks of the involved agency, which is a fraud and deceptive because the actual executive agency working for the executive branch. The word
Even moreover, y'all, really they're supposed to investigate and see if there's any subject matter jurisdiction or interim jurisdiction or personal jurisdiction. This is the reason why you challenge it. So even at minimum, before you proceed forward, there's got to be some form of jurisdiction for the judicial branch. and they just, we got jurisdiction no matter what. And then you go see a higher magistrate, or you see the same magistrate a few months later, but they're still in administrative and never in the judicial. And now everybody's in prison under administrative and never by the judicial.
Administrative?
Because they charged you with a statute.
With the word executive. The word administrative connotes of or pertains to administration, especially management, by managing or conducting and superintending the execution and application of conduct of persons or things. Administrative acts are those acts which are necessary to be done to carry out legislative policies and purposes already declared by the legislative body. In fact, it is common to use the two words in tandem, which is full of fraud and deception, because there's no judge for that proceeding, but is actually a bought and paid for clerk masquerading as a judge that cannot do anything judicial. Ministerial officers are incompetent and receive grants of judicial power from the legislature. Their acts in attempting to exercise such powers are necessarily nullities. Where there's no jurisdiction, there's no judge. The proceeding is as nothing. Such has been the law from the days of Marshal Saya. And that's a federal court case citing a U.S. Supreme Court case, Bradley versus Fisher, which is citing 10 Coke 68, which is Coke in the 1500s. To put the demandant into bondage, selling the demandant into slavery is collateral for the Vatican's minor estate, as described in 31 CFR 363.6, because an entity includes the estate of a living person, such as an incompetent or a minor. Entity means any owner of a Treasury direct account that's not an individual. Entity is a sole proprietorship, limited liability company, professional limited liability company, trust, the estate of a decedent, or the estate of a living person, such as an incompetent or a minor. And a minor can be an individual who's attained the age of 18 years but has not yet taken control of the securities in his or her minor account. Minor
which means person.
Is an individual under the age of 18 years. The term minor is also used to refer to an individual who's attained the age of 18 years but has not yet taken control of securities contained in his or her minor account. They are fraudulently and decepting using the Vatican's minor estate, 31 CFR 363.6, to bring the District of Columbia outside a maximum of 10 miles square in violation of Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. To exercise exclusive legislation in all cases whatsoever over such district not exceeding 10 miles square, as made by session of particular states, and the acceptance of Congress become the seat of government of the United States, which is using the Vatican's fraud and deception to unlawfully place a demandant under the Commerce Clause, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3. In other words, Congress has exclusive legislative jurisdiction over citizens of Washington District of Columbia, and through their plenary power nationally, covers those citizens, even when in one of the several states, as though the district expands for the purpose of regulating its citizens wherever they go throughout the states of the Union. And that's National Mutual Insurance Company versus of the District of Columbia versus Tidewater Transfer Company, U.S. Supreme Court, 1948.
You're a slave. 13th Amendment does not exist.
This is why the Vatican's bar member are name-calling the demandant a sovereign citizen like it's a bad thing when they know the House Joint Resolution 183, dated May 3rd, 1940, 54 Stat 178, states...
That being said, I did a video on this exact same thing. Now, heads up, they changed the words a little bit, but the brother to it, over time, is called today September 17th Constitutional Day. Huh. But that's the 1940. They just changed a couple of words. Words matter, right? But in generally, it's the brothers and sisters. It's the exact same thing. They just kind of changed the words.
In the preamble, whereas it's desirable that the sovereign citizens of our nation be prepared for their responsibilities and impressed with the significance of their status in our self-governing republic. And the Vatican's bar members are required to know that the Supreme Court of the United States has ruled that everyone and everything not privileged is sovereign. The rights of sovereignty extend to all persons and things not privileged that are within the territory. all of which evidences their intent to perjure their oath to the supreme law of the land, Article 6, Clause 2, to make war on the Republic and engage in all the reasons for separation from the Vatican's tyrant listed in the organic law of the Declaration of Independence. This is prohibiting the free exercise of the man's religious beliefs in violation of Article 1 and Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof.
And my standing on the First Amendment. That again is not my religion. So you force me into a different form of religion against my First Amendment, right? Or my standing of the First Amendment.
Because the demandant has a right to own land under natural laws found in the Holy Bible. Every citizen or freeman is endowed with certain rights and privileges to enjoy which no written law or statutes required. These are fundamental or natural rights recognized among all free people. Which is satanic, because the Vatican is a necromancer with their minor estate and is bringing dead things to life and prohibited under God's laws found in the Holy Bible. There shall not be found among you anyone that maketh his son or his daughter pass through the fire, that useth divination or...
And I'm sorry to cut you off. The graven image, right? Your ID is a graven image of you. It's not you. It's of you.
For a timer, an enchanter, or a witch, or a charmer, or a consultant with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer. For all that do these things are an abomination unto the Lord, and because these abominations the Lord thy God doth drive them out from before thee. And that's Deuteronomy 18:10-12, verse 10-12. And they're using fraud and deception in the Vatican's minor estate to engage in the theft of the demandant's land and populate the prisons by selling people into slavery. If a man be found stealing any of his brethren of the children of Israel, and maketh merchandise of him or selleth him, then that thief shall die. Thou shalt put evil away from among you. And all fraud and deception and lies come from the devil and Satan. You are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father you will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. John 8:44, I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews or Christians, and are not, but are of the synagogue of Satan. And so that's the end of this, and I could add in some stuff, although I've already filed it, but if I would add in some stuff about plenary, about this plenary right here. It talks about, where is it? Right here. Through their plenary power nationally covers those citizens, even one of the several states. Plenary means it's a dictatorship. So, anyways, this video has been going on for over an hour. Is there anything else that we want to talk about? So what's going to happen is the chaos is going to be really bad. They're saying that the 10th of April, I mean, that's like 2 weeks away now. 2-3 weeks at the most.
Let's see what else.
So, and there's probably some people that...
Let's see what he talked about there.
Reenact Nuremberg 2. I know what Nuremberg 1 is. Nuremberg 2.2.
Alright. Anyway. I digress. Decent Week People News. Get outside of your mind imprisonment. Think what is going on around us. If you must, take a day off and go watch a court hearing. And really pay attention to the words they are speaking. Okay? And and when you do that with an open mind, like the judge is supposed to do, all right? It's supposed to be bipartisan. Supposed to hear both sides, even though they don't. 9 times out of 10, they're going to take the other side against you. So your paperwork has got to be really on par, because, well, they're in conflict of interest against you. You're disrupting their money source. This is We the People News. Bye, y'all.